So in this lecture today, we are going to go through the introduction of cloud computing, that what is cloud computing is all about. Um, and then we will talk about that why do we need cloud computing in the first place. We are also going to talk about the key cloud vendors which are present in the market at the moment, the characteristics of cloud, what is um, cloud all about, what are the key characteristics or the properties of a cloud, the services that a cloud offers, and the deployment models within the cloud. So that's how we are going to carry on today. So introduction to cloud computing. Now, first of all, we need to understand that, let's forget about everything. Let's say that why do we call it cloud in the first place? Why it is called a cloud? Why we don't call it a sea, or why we don't call it a mountain or a river or something like that? Why it is called a cloud? So cloud is a metaphor. It is a metaphor to describe a massive network of servers and nodes and computers and all those devices which are millions in numbers throughout the globe. So the whole idea, behind calling it a cloud is that just like the water vapors on the sky, I mean, just consider sky like an internet. So just like, water vapors in the sky, which are scattered everywhere, they just join together. They serve a purpose to drop the rain on the earth, to provide a service. I mean, rain is like a service. They provide a service on purpose to a certain area. They don't have a fixed structure. They are not stationary. They keep moving. They form and deform. And at some point they are at a place, and at the other point they are not at that place. So there's a kind of a similarity which the person who named it as cloud saw within the network as well, that all these network devices, servers and computers, they all join together to provide a service on demand that is temporary. One can get that service, pay for that service, and then one can stop paying for that service, and that service would be dissolved. So that is the whole idea of calling it a cloud, just as a metaphor. I mean, from the National Institute of Standards and Technology definition, they call it a model of enabling ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computer resources. For example, networks and servers, and storages and application and services that can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort or service providers interaction. I'm going to go in a lot of detail about that, so don't worry about it. If that definition has not made any sense to you, just don't worry about that. So the cloud in the IT and the computing has a similar characteristic. It is formed of the combination of networks and their users. Sometimes the users are there, and sometimes they are not there. Just like just like the cloud in the sky. The way water cloud serves many users, the cloud in the IT and the computing caters for a large number of services around the globe without being fixed to a geographical location. So that's the whole idea, behind making similar, behind comparing the networks with a cloud in the sky. Now, so let me give you an example that if I have a laptop or a desktop, and at home, I'm doing my day-to-day work, such as creating files and storing data, and playing the online games, etc., etc. And over time, my requirements, they increase. I need to store a bit more of data. I need to play more kind of more more advanced games on my computer, and I may need to use a software program which probably is quite expensive as well, and I have to pay for that, and I have to purchase that. So I have choices, right? One choice is that I just purchase a new laptop, a new system, or I purchase a new software program, and I start using that, and I spend a lot of money to do that. And the second option is to just get all this this hardware and software rented out from somebody who has already invested in that within that infrastructure. They have already put the computers, the high specs computers and the new softwares in place. They have paid for the license, and I just hire them, just pay them for that particular time. I do my job, I play the game, I develop whatever I wanted to develop using their technology and using their devices, and then I just walk away. So what would be more beneficial for me when it comes to when it comes to my finances and when it comes to my expenses? The obvious thing is that when I'm renting out somebody's infrastructure, it's more cost beneficial for me rather than buying the equipment myself. And it's not only about storing the data on their computers or on their servers. It's it has also to do with the processing. It has also to do with the with the RAMs and the memories, etc., etc. So there's a misconception within the layman that cloud is all about storage only, because people on the face of it, they look at the Google devices, the Google Drive, they look at the Dropbox, they look at the iCloud, and they just think that cloud is all about storing the data and nothing else. But the scope of the cloud is far bigger than just the storage. You get the services with a variety of applications. There's one more example just to make it a bit more clear, is that for instance, there's a new company, there's a startup company with only 1,000 employees. They start with the 1,000 employee, and what they do is that they have data, they have software, and if that company store and maintain that data and that software by itself, then it requires a team to manage it as well, and they require an infrastructure to store and support it. If the company instead goes to a cloud service provider and say to them that I will pay you for these services for a fraction of cost, additionally, it will be far easier for them to scale up. That, for example, they started with 1,000 employees as well. They had a few servers, they had a few clients, they had a few routers, but then what they realized is that within 4 or 5 years time, they grew up. From 1,000, they grew to 10,000 or maybe 5,000 or something like that. Then what would they do? Do you think that they would start, they will have to build more infrastructure? They may have to buy more machines, they may have to buy more routers, they may have to buy more applications. But then the other choice is that they don't do any of that. They just go to somebody who say that, look, you don't have to invest in all these in this equipment, because it's not only about buying the routers and buying the machines and storage and all that. It's also about creating an environment for that as well. They probably previously they had a very small data center to keep all that equipment, and now they need a far bigger data center. And what happens in the data center? Within the data center, you need to have the electricity, you need to have the air conditioning units, you need to have staff over there, you need to have security over there, you need to have networking, everything you need to do. So the moment these companies, they start growing up, they realize that they need to invest a bit more into the infrastructure, and then they grow and grow and grow. The investment grows as well. While um, cloud gives us the opportunity that you don't have to do any of that. You can grow as much as you want to grow, but you don't have to purchase and invest in all these infrastructure. All you can get is based on your demand. We will rent it out to you. You can use it for as long as you want, and then you can just close that. You don't have to do any of that. You don't have to to you know to permanently keep all these things. Um, there's one more example could be that, for instance, there's a you are an online retailer, just like Amazon or somebody like Alibaba or eBay. You are you are an online retailer. You have you think you you have a steady flow of sales going on throughout the year, from January to December, and for that, but probably you require a very not such a big server. You have a very small server to do that. And you use your traffic is probably 10,000 subscribers are coming to your website, and they are making purchases from your website throughout the year, per day 10,000. Then you realize that when the Christmas comes, for the 3 or 4 days of Christmas, your sales grow, because the visitors on your website per day are, instead of 10,000 visitors per day, they become 100,000 visitors per day. So for those 4 days, obviously there's a massive opportunity for you to make a big revenue, but at the same time you need to cater for those 10 times more visitors on your website. So what are you going to do? One option for you is to buy bigger servers, increase your capacity by 10 times, because you used to have 10,000 visitors coming to your website previously, but now you have 100,000 coming to your website. So your capacity, your traffic becomes tenfold. You need to increase your capacity as well by tenfold. You need to have a bigger infrastructure, 10 times bigger infrastructure, to support that. So what are you going to do? Are you going to buy more hard disk, more processors, more servers for those 4 days only? Or you are just going to probably go to a cloud service provider and say that, look guys, I have, for these 4 days, I need some bigger processing power, I need more memory, more storage and all that. Would you be able to provide that? I'm just going to pay you for that, and that's it. In the first option, you have to to enhance your data center, you have to make space for the new devices, new storage and new processing devices, and then you install them. It will take you probably 30 days to do that, and once you have done that, then those 4 days of holidays will come. You will make your money, but then what will happen of the devices that you have purchased? They're not going to be used anymore. For the rest of the year, they are just going to stay there. You can't just wrap them and put them into a store. You can't do it anymore. You still have to maintain that, and while you are maintaining that, you are spending money on that. You are paying the electricity bills on that. You are paying all sorts of bills to maintain those devices which you needed only for 4 days. So cloud service providers, cloud is something which enables you to to use all those things on the long-term basis, to use the services just for a very limited time when you need it, and once your time is over, you don't need it anymore. You just you just stop paying for that. You just disconnect the service, and that's it. You just walk away. So it's like a pay-as-you-go service. While you're taking all the benefits of the service that you could take for your domestic infrastructure, your own infrastructure. You could still take all those benefits by renting out these services and these network devices. So that's this that's that's in a nutshell that why do we need the cloud? What is the need? What is the rationale behind having a cloud technology? Now, let's talk a bit about who are the top players in the cloud. There are, mainly there are three top players at the moment. One is Amazon Web Services, which in short we call as AWS as well. The other one is Microsoft Azure, and then Google Cloud Platform, GCP. These are the three top cloud players at the moment in the market. AWS, the Amazon Web Services, had got the major market share. They are the ones who are by far leading the cloud industry. Behind them is Microsoft Azure, which is also not too far behind, but they started slightly later than Amazon Web Services, so they did not, so far they haven't captured as much of a market share as Amazon Web Services has done. But Microsoft Azure has got a competitive advantage over Amazon Web Services, and the competitive advantage is that their Windows is widely used all over the globe, and because of Windows presence everywhere, Microsoft Azure enjoys a lot of compatibility with that window. It becomes very easy for a window user to use Microsoft Azure because of the easy compatibility between the two. So that's why they are also leading player in the market. Maybe not as big as Amazon Web Service as today, but maybe in future they will catch up. Then we have something called Google Cloud Platform. It is it's a Google-based cloud, as the name suggests. So these are the three top players, and then there are some smaller players as well. Alibaba Cloud is a Chinese company. They have also recently entered into the market, not as big as the AWS and Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud Platform, but obviously they are Chinese, so just like Huawei and ZTE, what they did in telecom, probably Alibaba could do in the cloud as well. That is offering something on very cheap rates, and then claiming the benefits later on. And then we have VMware, we have Oracle Cloud, we have IBM Cloud. So all these little not so big players in cloud are still there. Right. So moving on, let's talk about the characteristics of cloud. That what are the characteristics? What are the main features of a typical cloud that they enjoy? So the first one is that we call it on-demand self-service. So what does on-demand self-service essentially means? The on-demand self-service means that access your network whenever and wherever you want. Now, to access your Gmail account, for instance, it is not imperative for you to go into an office set up by Google in your city. Like if you're in San Francisco, or you're in London, or you're in New York, you don't have to go to a particular place and just sit over there and then access your Gmail account. No, that's not the case. Gmail is accessible to you as long as you have a device and an internet connection. That's all you need to access your Gmail account. Same goes with the Facebook, same goes with the WhatsApp and all these things. So all this means is that your that your network, whenever and wherever you want to access it, you don't necessarily need to access it from a particular location. You may have created your Twitter account um, sitting in your bedroom, but you don't necessarily can only access it while you are in your bedroom as well. You can, you have created it from one place and you can access it from another place. So that's what they mean by that by the characteristic of on-demand self-service, that you are able to create it from one place, you can use it from another place as far as you have a network device, um, a user device and a network connection. Then you have something called broad network access. That's what they call it. Broad access network means that you don't need a single type of a device to access those services. It's not that you only have a laptop of a particular specifications by the virtue of which you will be able to access your Facebook account or your Twitter account. No, you don't need that. You can use a handheld phone or a tablet or a desktop, whatever you want to use, as long as there's a device which has the ability to connect via the internet. You can use these services of clouds. Then you have something called scalability. Scalability means that you can scale up and down your cloud services. Today you have probably 4 servers only to run your online business. Tomorrow you could have 400 servers if this is what you want to do. And then day after tomorrow you can again reduce it to 4 servers. That's entirely upon you, that the level of the number of servers, the number of devices, and the number of sessions you want to create, the number of instances you want to create. It's all upon you. It has nothing to do with the limitations of the cloud. The cloud is completely unlimited in that you can scale it to whatever level you want, depending upon your business requirements and your personal requirements. Then there is something called resource pooling. So what does resource pooling means? Resource pooling is, for instance, just give you a normal example. For instance, I may require 2 liters of drinking water every day. I've been suggested by my physician that I need to drink 2 liters of water every day. And then there's somebody else, my friend or my colleague, he requires to drink 1.5 liter water, and then there's somebody else who wants to drink half a liter of water. So collectively we all want to drink 4 liters of water every day. So what I do is that, I know it's a very basic example, but just to give you an idea of what is resource pooling means. So collectively we all need to drink 4 liters of water. So what I do is that I put all that 4 liter of water, rather than having half a liter bottles put into a kitchen. They are like 4 liters, so half a liter would mean 8 bottles to be placed into the kitchen. Rather than doing that, what I do is that I just put a water cooler and I put all the 8 liter water in that, and then we can go and take the water from that pool of water whenever we require. So all the resources, all the water has been pooled into a single entity, rather than having it scattered all over in the kitchen. We have pooled it into a single place, and this is something that we have in the cloud as well, that we are able to pool all those resources. Now coming back to a technical example, for instance, you have a new smartphone, and your smartphone gives you the the internal memory of only 16 gigs. You realize that this 16 gig memory is not enough for you, and you want to enhance it. So what you do is that you bring an external chip, which is the external memory of 8 gigs. So collectively you have 16 gigs internal memory and 8 gig external memory. You have 24 gigs. So the way you can use it is that when you put that chip in your phone, it gives you an option. The option is that do you want to use both the memories as separate memories separately, or you want to merge them together? And if you merge them together, then it becomes 24. But if you don't merge them together, then it stays 16 plus 8. What it means is that if you did not merge them, if you kept them separate while the chip is there, but you have still kept them separate, 16 plus 8, you cannot copy a 17 gig file into the phone, because 16 gig is not able to retain that file, because it's 17 gig is bigger than 16 gig, and obviously 8 gig cannot bear that load as well. So you will not be able to, yes, you have in total 24 gig, 16 plus 8, but you are not able to copy a 17 gig file into that, just because none of them is able to store that. But what you can do is that when you choose the option of merge them together, you make it 24, then it becomes a resource pool, which means that 16 plus 8, 24 is now able to store a file of 16 gig, 18 gig, 19 gig, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, all these sizes. They're able to cater for that, because now the resources have pooled together to serve a purpose. And this is a similar concept in the cloud as well, that the resources, the network resources, the storage resources, they all merge together to give you, to offer a resource pool to you, and based on that you can use that. And finally, number 5th is what we have called measured services. Now measured services is something to do with the analytics. The cloud offers you to analyze the traffic the traffic and the usage of the services that they have offered. For instance, if you have an online store, and and you want to see that how many people have visited that website, online store website, in the last 3 days, cloud offers you that data to see that, okay, so you have probably 500 people who have visited in the last 3 days, and then you can say that, okay, I would like to see that how many of them were in the age group of 20 to 30, and you can look at that as well. Okay, 30 to 40, you can find that information as well. How many from a particular geographical area, for instance, how many are from Karachi who are visiting that, and you can see that as well. How many from New Delhi, you can see that as well. How many of them actually bought laptops, you can find that information as well. How many of them find a particular type of a laptop, or a particular brand of a laptop. All this information is there, is offered by the cloud service providers, based on the managed service and the analytics that they are offering. So these are these were the 5 characteristics of cloud. Now moving on, services in the clouds. Now I'm just going to give a brief overview of these IaaS and PaaS and SaaS services, but in the next lecture I'm going to go slightly more in detail into that. But for now, let's see that what these services are from a very high level perspective, from a very high level overview. There are 3 main services. One service is called as infrastructure as a service. Then the other one is called platform as a service, and then the third one is called software as a service. Now, what is infrastructure as a service? Now let's look at first. First of all, let's see that what is an infrastructure in the first place. Infrastructure for a college, maybe. Let's see. We have a college. What is the infrastructure for that? The infrastructure for a college is that building. First of all, in that building you have rooms. In that room, in those rooms you have tables and benches and chairs. You have whiteboards. You have you have projectors. You have you have furniture. You have science labs, and you have playground, and you have you have canteen. All these things come together to form an infrastructure of a college. For a hospital, what is the infrastructure of a hospital? You have patients. You have the beds for the patients. You have ECGs and X-rays devices. You probably have labs, the blood testing labs. So so all these things would come together to build up the infrastructure for a hospital. In case of cloud, the infrastructure is basically the network, which is comprised of usually gateways and firewalls, the storage capacities, and the servers. For instance, for WhatsApp, we need to have a storage to store a large number of, there are billions of messages which are flowing through the WhatsApp application on the daily basis. So you need to have a large storage device to store those messages, and then you have you need to have a server as well, which is a server or many servers to provide that service for the WhatsApp. So the network, which is comprised of gateways and firewalls, the storage capacity, and the servers, they all come together to build up the infrastructure of your cloud. Now, all these hardware components fall under the IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, that can be sourced out from a cloud on the virtual basis. What does virtual means? What does virtuality means? Virtual means that you have something but you don't have it as well. What does that mean? Is that, for instance, there's a server which is out there. That server does not belong to me. I cannot access that server. I cannot physically access that server. Maybe I cannot physically go and switch on and on that server, but I can still use that server. I can still connect to that server by my laptop or by my handheld devices, and I can still use that. So that is I'm using that server on the virtual basis. You will have the access to that server. You may run WhatsApp, you may run Facebook, your customer applications, your business applications on that, but you don't own that server. You can't physically access that server. So that means that it's that is something you are doing on the virtual basis. You don't have to buy that server at all. Get the server on the cloud, install the application on that, and make it public, so every individual could download that application from the Google Play Store, and that's how you're going to use that server on the virtual basis. You will have a full control over the resources which you have sourced from the cloud. Things that you have placed on the cloud, only you have the right to access it and modify it, and have a full control over it. So that means that your data, your applications, whatever you have placed on the cloud is completely secure as well. Cloud service providers, they would ensure the security um, 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 of your data and your applications as well. Now, infrastructure is something which is on the lowest level. It falls, just like within a building, when you are putting in the foundation, when you decide to build up to build a building, you 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 just lay the foundation first, and then on the top of that foundation, you start building up the building. So that is the similar thing in case of your cloud as well. I mean, all your networks and your gateways and your storage, they are at the bottom of the pyramid when it comes to the cloud. And the rest of the things, like the platform and the software, they are built on top of that. So that is a bit about the infrastructure as a service. Now let's talk about the platform as a service. Let's see that what a platform is in the layman terms. You want to play cricket. If you want to play cricket, what do you need? You need a stadium. That is your infrastructure. Where you have this massive ground which is covered by the big walls and the benches and all that. That is your infrastructure. But you need a platform on which you want to play the cricket as well. So what that platform would be, probably the grass in the ground and a pitch, and a cricket pitch. That would be your platform. That is the place on which you are going to do a certain thing. For instance, I mean, in the world of IT, you can say that your infrastructure is your server, a Windows 12 server, which probably somewhere in North America you have placed it while you are sitting in London. On that server, Windows 12 is going to be the platform on that server. There would be a server of certain hardware specifications, somewhere from HP or whatever, and then on top of that you put your Windows 12. That would be your platform, and then you want to run a service from that server. Your service could be anything, like a software. Maybe you have developed a game. That is a service that you're providing, or you have developed an application to invest in these stocks. That is a service. That is a software that you have placed over there. So infrastructure is the hardware. Platform is the operating system, like a Windows or Linux or whatever, and then the software is your application that you are running on top of that. I hope that it has made it the distinction between these three services are now clear, that you have IaaS, you have PaaS, and you have SaaS. Now, there's one thing that I would like to say is that you have a complete freedom to purchase whatever level of service you want. IaaS infrastructure is the very basic level of service that one could purchase from cloud service provider. What does it mean? It means that you think that, right, what I'm going to do is that I only need the Windows servers, I only need the storage, and I only need the routing and the gateway from this particular service provider, from Amazon or from Azure or from Google Cloud Platform. All I need is this. That's it. And then on top of that, I'm going to build my own platform. That is, I'm going to install my own operating system, and then I'll put my own software on top of that. I don't need anything other than the basic hardware. That's all I need. So that means that you have procured only the IaaS from your cloud provider. But then you think that, right, you know what, the infrastructure is not enough for me, and I don't want to go through the hassle of procuring an operating system as well. I want some more from this cloud. So what I will do is that I'm also going to need the operating system. I would like to have a Windows 12 operating system. And when you say that you need a Windows 12 server, on top of your network, it means that you have actually opted for PWS. You have got a platform as a service, but what this means as well, that when you are taking PWS, IaaS comes as a default. You can't get PWS without an IaaS. You first have to have an infrastructure, and then on top of that, you have you have platform. So PWS on its own means nothing. PWS has the infrastructure, and then on top of that you are putting the operating system, which makes it as a platform as a service. And then you think that not only the infrastructure and the platform, I would also rather have an application from these people as well. For instance, Office 365 from Microsoft Azure. You say that, no, I just want the whole thing. I want Word and Microsoft PowerPoint and Excel and this new Outlook, this email feature. I need everything from them. So this means that you have got the infrastructure at the base. On top of that, you procure the platform, and then you ask for the services as well, which is the applications as well. So this means that you have, when you take the software as a service, you take the whole thing. You take infrastructure, you take platform, and you take the software as well. So I hope that the distinction between three of them are now clear. When you are taking, just to summarize it once again, when you are taking IaaS, you are only taking the basic hardware. When you are taking PWS, you are taking the operating system on top of the IaaS hardware. And when you are taking software, you are taking your software application on top of the operating system, on top of the infrastructure that you have procured. So that is the distinction between all these things. The value visibility to the end user from an end user perspective, when you are taking software as a service, then obviously you are having a full value. You are having the infrastructure, you are having the platform, and you are having the software application as well, rather than just a basic IaaS. So that's how you get the full value. Now let's talk about the final topic of today, which is what we call as the deployment models. Now there are mainly 4 deployment models in cloud. There's something called a private cloud. Then there's something called public cloud. There's something called hybrid cloud, and there's something called community cloud. So let's examine all these 3 clouds on one by one. What is a public cloud? A public cloud is that anybody can create their cloud on a public cloud. Azure, AWS, and GCP are the examples of public clouds, because anybody use them to make their infrastructure, to run their applications on them, and then anybody can create their own account and make use of the service offerings by their service provider like AWS, Azure, and GCP. It is available to public on equal basis. You as an individual or you as a business, you can just go to the AWS website or to the website of Microsoft Azure or GCP, and you can just follow the process by clicking certain things by putting in some information, your credit card details and all that. You can go on their website, and then you can you can just decide that what kind of a server you want, what kind of an OS you want on top of that server, what kind of memory you want, what kind of RAM you want. Every specification, when the specification that you would typically specify to a shopkeeper when you go out to find to buy a laptop from a market, you can do it on these websites, and you can create a cloud service from from that on the public cloud. So that's how the public cloud is created, and it is made available to you. But what about the private cloud? What is private cloud? A private cloud is when a business when a business becomes very very touchy about their information. They are very private about their information. They are very concerned about the information. They think that, right, why should for instance, there's a business called Dell Computers. Dell Computers think that why should I go to Amazon and to Azure and to GCP to create my cloud? Why shouldn't I create a cloud for myself? And if I'm because I have my business data, and that data is very dear to me. I don't want to lose that data, and I don't want to let that data get into the wrong hands. There could be some pharmaceutical company who is doing some research, like these days some research is going on the COVID-19 vaccination. They are very concerned about that that data of the patients. They don't want to go into the wrong hands, because the vaccination trial is going on the masses, and there are thousands of people involved in that, and they don't want the health information to go into the wrong hands. So they could be concerned that they don't want to go. They don't want to let all this information to go into the wrong hands, and that's why they think that look, I'm not going to purchase a public cloud. I would rather build my own cloud, and only my employees will be able to access the services from that cloud, the information on that cloud, and that cloud will be very secure. Now, that's a good idea, obviously, from a security perspective, but there are a few things that needed to be considered about that. One is that even the public cloud, Azure and AWS and the Google Cloud, they are not insecure. All these companies, they make a claim that these public cloud platforms, they are extremely secure. Although you are putting your data in there, and obviously the employees from Azure and AWS, they are managing that data, because obviously it's their platform, it's their service. But all the data that you are putting in there, it's all very securely encrypted, and because of that, it's there's very little chance that that data could be lost or it could be stolen. But then people want to go to a next level of security as well. They want to make sure that that whatever little probability of getting their data stolen, and getting that data lost, that probability is also, that risk is also mitigated. So that's why people go for the private cloud. Now again, there's a question which comes in the private cloud, is that the whole idea of cloud computing is that you don't invest on the infrastructure yourself. You actually let other people develop that infrastructure, and you just buy those services. But then if you are creating a private cloud for yourself, then the whole idea of the cloud service somewhat goes out of the window, because you ended up doing the same investment which the public cloud allowed you not to do. But then it's a matter of priorities. It's a matter of what level of security do you want. It's just like you have some money and you think that, I'm going to secure it in my home. I will dig a hole in my garden, and on that garden I'm going to in that hole I'm going to put a metallic box. In that metallic box I'm going to put the money, and then I'm going to 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 build a room on top of that, that box, and that room is going to be locked as well. So yes, you have made it secure, and there's a very little chance that somebody is going to first break into your house, and then um, find that room in your garden, and then break into that room, and then break into the box. Is going to require a lot of effort. But then there's a bank. There's a bank in the high street which who says that bring that money to me, and just avoid all that hassle of digging a hole in your garden and building a room on top of that to secure your money. But then it's up to you that what you think is more important for you, and and it's more secure for you. So that's the distinction between the public cloud and the private cloud. The public cloud, as I said, is AWS, Amazon, Global, Google Cloud Platform, and VMware, and all that. Private cloud, the companies such as maybe Ericsson, Nokia, IBM, Dell, they build their own clouds. They purchase their own equipment, they purchase their own infrastructure, and they do it themselves. Now, there's something called a hybrid cloud as well. The hybrid cloud is a hybrid of public and private cloud. Now, what could be a mixture of public and private cloud? A mixture could be that, for instance, there's a company, there's a big business, and they think that some of the information is extremely confidential. It's only for the right people to see, and some of the information is not that much confidential. Some of the information has to be secured on a next level. For instance, I just gave an example of this COVID-19 research being done by different pharmaceutical companies. So that pharmaceutical company may decide that, look, all this information which we are working upon with regards to the vaccination trials, this is extremely confidential. There's absolutely no chance that we could afford to lose this information, or to let this information fall into the wrong hands. So what we will do is that we are going to store this information on a private cloud. And then the rest of the stuff that, for instance, the information related to my branding, related to my the employees directory, and the information related to my policies and my procedures and my standards, my business, everything can go on a public cloud. So that's how I'm going to make a distinction, that I will still enjoy the benefits of public cloud, which does not involve a massive investment of money, but I'll also keep a private cloud as well, and that private cloud is going to allow me to keep my confidential data extremely secure. So that is to do with my hybrid cloud. And the last but the least is the community cloud. So community cloud is something that maybe a community, they decide to create a knowledge base. They think that for example, a few hospitals, they just rather than having all the information all over the place, what they say that all the hospitals in Pakistan, maybe they decide that, look, let's put all our resources at one place, and then we will share the information that which resources available from where, and then we will be able to to share that information and access that resource. For instance, all these blood banks, they say that all the information of the available blood is there, and on that community cloud. And then as and when somebody from a particular hospital needs that information or that blood, then it's very easy to for them to to be able to access that. And it's just one example. I mean, communities could be any community. It could be an educational community, it could be a business community, it could be a networking community, real estate community, everything. uh, so the clouds could be based upon those communities, and the data could be shared accordingly. So that's it for the today's lecture. And I mean, if I'm going to stop the recording now, and if there are any questions that anybody wants to ask, then please go ahead.